Okay, fourth graders, get out lesson 81 on angle measures. Okay, this is one of those fun lessons that I like to do in class because we get to get out the protractors and do some actual measuring in class. And so I'm kind of sad that I definitely wish we were in the classroom for this one so that we could kind of play a little bit. But a protractor is one of those plastic pieces that you may or may not have seen in my classroom, that it's like a half moon or a semicircle, and it has right here at the base a straight edge that goes right up through the center of it and basically rotates whatever way you want so that you can measure angles. Okay, so since I don't know if a lot of you even have a protractor at home, but it's okay if you don't, because what they're going to try to get us to do today anyway is estimate what the angles are based on information we already know about angles. For example, we all know that a right angle, okay, I mean for this to be straight up and down and this to be straight across, we know that a right angle is 90 degrees, right? And then we know that any angle that is less than 90 degrees is acute, and any angle that is more than 90 degrees is obtuse. So if you had to estimate or guess for number one on your lesson practice, you can see that the angle is less than 90 degrees, right? It's acute. Okay, so what we have to decide is how much less than 90 degrees is this? Okay, what would exactly half of 90 degrees be? Well, we could take 90 and divide it by 2 to find out exactly what half of 90 is. 2 goes into 9 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. If we subtract, that leaves us 1, bring down our 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. So 45 degrees would be exactly half of 90 degrees. If we draw a line straight up and down, that's what I would estimate number one to be, is about half of 90 degrees. So my estimation would be 45 degrees even without something to measure with. Okay, if you don't have a protractor at home, you can also use one of these and a ruler. So the thing in the middle works as your protractor, and there's a little tiny dot in the middle. And you would use your ruler or straight edge to show you exactly which one it was pointing to when you line them up. But you would have to line the dot up with the vertex of the angle here if you wanted to do that. But just so you know, the exercise is not for you to actually measure these with a protractor. It's just to estimate, looking with your eyes, at about what you think these should be. Okay, so let's take a look at number 2 together. Okay, so for number 2, we can definitely tell it's also acute, right? Because here's what 90 degrees would be, straight up and down. This would be a 90 degree right angle, and it's definitely less than that. But it's also a little bit more than just halfway through, which was 45 degrees. So we know this is more than 45, but less than 90. So you take your best guess as to what you think this could be. Okay, mark on your paper where you know halfway is and where 90 is. And we're going to pick something between there, okay? I'm going to estimate that this is about maybe 15 degrees difference here. Maybe a 15 degree difference here. So I went with 60 degree estimate. Okay? You can, if you get, whatever you get, it's an estimate. So it can't be right or wrong unless it's just way off the numbers. So if you got 70 degrees instead, that I would accept that just fine. But if you put 100 degrees, I'm going to say, oh, That can't be right because that's more than even 90 degrees. In fact, that's an obtuse angle. So you're way off if you pick 100 degrees. You have to pick a number that is between 45 and 90 and closer to 45 than it is to 90. Okay? Okay, look at number 3 though. Number 3 is definitely not acute this time. We can see that number 3 is actually obtuse because it's more than a 90-degree angle, right? Because 90 degrees would be straight up and down right there, and we use our little square, right, to indicate a 90 degrees. This is more than that. And remember when we did our lesson on circles, and we were turning around in the classroom, a straight angle or a full half of a circle would be 180 degrees. We call that a straight angle when the line is just straight across and the vertex is here in the middle. We call that a 180 degree angle because 90 plus 90, so if you have 90 degrees here and 90 degrees here, that's going to be 180. And then a full circle will end up being 360 degrees because 90 times 4, 90 plus 90 plus 90 more plus 90 more equals 360. Whoops. 360 degrees is a full circle. Whoops, I'm writing twice, aren't I? Is a full circle. So 3/4 of a circle, 90 plus 90 plus 90, would be 270 degrees because 90 times 3 is 270. Okay, so in figuring out and estimating this angle here, okay, we know that it's going to be less than 180, but more than 90 degrees. But it's also not quite halfway, which from there to there would be 45 more degrees, right? So we know it's not 90 plus 45 more, it's less than that. So if this looks like it's about 10 to 15 degrees between here, this space, then we could say this is, what's 15 degrees less than 45? 30, right? So what would 90 plus 30 be? Well, 90, 100, 110, 120. So we could estimate that this is about 120 degrees. But if you picked 125, I would count that too, or 130. Anything in between closer to this halfway mark, but definitely not closer to the 90 degrees. It has to be in between 90 and 135 degrees. Okay? Now, I want you to try 4, 5, and 6 on your own. Try to estimate what you think it would be. And then I will give you the answers for you to check it with, and you can see how close you were. Okay? So that's the lesson for today. And if we get back into the classroom this year, which I hope, of course, that we will, we'll definitely have a day where we experience measuring with these, because there's nothing that beats experience in actually measuring or trying to measure with a protractor. It's a little more tedious too than it looks. It's not, it's not hard, but it's also, you have to be very careful. So it's kind of fun to do. I always like this lesson. And if we don't get to do it this year, because this just goes on and on for a lot longer than we thought, then we do get to do this a lot next year. So we will do this next year too, if we don't get to this year. But it is fun, and I have a sheet full of really big angles that are easier to measure. Okay, now that you've had a chance to do your last 3 lesson practice problems, I want to go over them with you and see if you were close. Okay, so number 4, that one was kind of easy because it was just straight up and down a regular right angle, right? And we know that right angles are 90 degrees. So that one wasn't as hard to estimate. But number 5, that was a lot harder. This is a very skinny slice, so we definitely know that it was acute. And I would say this couldn't be more than, I mean, if we know that 90 degrees is straight up and down, it's definitely less than half of a right angle, which was 45. And this seems like it was even less than half of, let's see. This seems like it was even less than half of that. So I wouldn't put this at more than 20 to 25 degrees. I put 20 degrees. If you put 25, that works. If you put 15 degrees, that works. Okay, we're just estimating here because we really cannot be for sure because we don't have it to measure with. Okay, now this one was very obtuse, right? So all we can do is say, well, we know that this much from here to here is 90 degrees. And then this is about half of a whole nother right angle. So 90 plus 45 degrees would equal 135 degrees. So that's what I put for my estimate. If yours was anywhere around that number, within 10 to 20 degrees of that number, I would accept your answer. Okay, good. All right, good luck on your lesson.